Hello, welcome to the Jet Hairdressing Academy Transient Inversion Haircut. So today this is going to be what I would deem an advanced long graduation. So what I mean by that is it's not especially hard to do compared to things we've done before. It's just a bit more involved, a bit more going on, and it's playing around with a couple of techniques and blending them together, which for me makes it a bit more advanced. It's essentially going to keep the length and be layered through the front and through the back. You can change these lengths in various places to create a mixture of effects. We'll begin, like I already have so far, with this central parting. Once the central parting's in, I'm going to section the hair across the back of the head, from the crown to the top of the ear, and that's going to isolate back where we'll begin the haircut. Then I'm going to do two horizontal sections going forward from there, forming a kind of rectangular horseshoe section. Then we'll begin to work on the sides. Then with the top is where we're going to bring our inversion part into the haircut. So through the back and the sides, we're going to be bringing hair out at an angle, but bringing our fingers up to a horizontal position, which what you'll find that will do is, number one, it will keep length. It'll also create layering, but it tends to take a bit more weight out from the middle of the hair. So this kind of band of weight you can often get for a haircut. This technique's quite good for removing that. Once the transient part of this haircut's in through the back and through the sides, we'll move on to our rectangular horseshoe, where we'll be doing our inversion. So that's the basic principle and theory of this haircut. We'll section off the back and get stuck straight in. Okay, so let's section off the back. Okay, so that's the back sectioned off, from the crown to the top of the ear. We're going to be working with vertical sections through this back, starting in centre and then halving our previous section and moving along to the side each time, working our way round to the ears. We're going to be using some over direction at the back, so we're going to be bringing the hair from the ears back towards a square line at the back here, which is going to keep some weight behind the ears. You don't have to do that. You could move around your head as you section this, but the more you move around the head, the more weight you're going to move from around the ears. So if you want to keep weight behind the ears, stand yourself still and over direct. If you don't, move your body around the head and bring the sections out from the head instead, whereas I'm going to be over directing these side pieces back. But like I say, that would depend on consultation and what you're trying to achieve. So let's take our first section out in the middle. Vertical section, straight down the centre. Now this section is going to be elevated up to an angle which again really will depend on how much length you want to keep. The higher you pull it, the more length you're going to retain at the back. If you don't pull it quite so high, you're going to take a bit more hair off lower down and into the length there. So the higher you pull it, the more length you retain. The less layered it becomes. The lower you pull it, you're going to start taking more hair away from this. So I'm going to be bringing it approximately somewhere halfway between what would be vertical and horizontal, halfway in between. And then once I bring this hair onto that angle, I use my fingers and twist them out to a horizontal position here. That is where I'm going to cut my line. It's this bringing up of the fingers which will, like I said at the beginning, take a bit more hair from the middle of this rather than the top and the bottom. Obviously it takes hair from the top as well, but again, just play around with your angle and you'll figure out, depending on what you want to achieve, how much you can take off. Okay, so we've got the back of this head sectioned off now. You can see in my close-up camera here. I'm going to section off my guideline through the centre of this, just a vertical section, straight down the middle. Okay, so first section taken down the middle. Now we're going to put that guide in. So I'm going to bring this hair up to the angle we discussed. And once it's there, I'm going to let my fingers get to a horizontal position here. And then this is where I'm going to put my line. So it's this elevation and this horizontal position of my fingers which is ultimately going to keep length and take some weight from the middle. Once you've done that guide, pull some hair out, have a look, and just check you're happy with the length you've achieved. And if you are, we'll split that down the middle and move on to the rest of our sides. So let's do our first section now. So remember the process for this is we're going to take a section and halve a section each time. We're going to bring the hair up to the same angle we've just used. We're going to look for the guideline, get our fingers to that horizontal position, find the guide, take the hair off. Next section, don't forget, halve the hair you just cut. Take your next section to the side, bring this hair again up to that same angle, over directing it to the square position at the back. Look for that guide, nice horizontal fingers. Again, next section, halve what we've just cut. Move along. Don't forget elevation plus that horizontal finger angle. The last section. Now hopefully you can see the over direction I'm using here. I'm reading this back. That same guideline. The hair. So quite a quick process as you can see. Once you've done that first half of the back, we'll move straight into the other side. So just go back to your centre position again. Put the centre parting in, make sure you know where the middle of this head is, and then we'll section in the same way, working down the head. Same angle of elevation. Look for that guideline, horizontal finger angle. On. Don't forget, halve your previous section. Repeat the technique all the way through. Last section. And again, by this stage of the haircut, we can see our over direction happening, how we're putting that hair behind the ears back to retain that weight. Just keep a bit of length in that area. Okay, so once you've completed the back, take some time just to cross-check, measure some pieces, make sure you're happy with the length through here. If you wanted to remove a little bit of length now, you could also, or you could wait till the end. We need to move on to the sides now, so let's do that. Okay, so we need to take these horizontal sections that we spoke about at the beginning. It's effectively making a horseshoe, but it's going to be a rectangle. So I'm just going to take a straight line from approximately a recession area until I join up with my original radial section across the back of the head. And that's going to be 1/2 of my horseshoe. You don't need to necessarily section both sides at a time. You can just section one and then do the other when you're ready. So I'm going to clip this top out of the way. So we've got a nice clean area to work with. And all we're going to do now is work with vertical sections. Again, we're going to borrow some hair from the back here and bring the hair up to that same angle with a horizontal finger position, repeating the process. The main difference now is the hair that was over directed and cut at the back here, we're now going to bring into the side and use that as our guide, and then we'll keep everything square through this side also. So we're not continuing to over direct everything back. You could do that, you could bring all these sides to the back. Obviously you'd end up very long at the front if you did that, and you wouldn't have much happening around the front. If you want that, that's totally fine. But for this haircut today, I want to create some more layers around the front here, so I'm going to bring everything straight out from the side now. Okay, let's get stuck in. Okay, first section. Don't forget, halve one, take one every time. It's a good habit to get into. It ensures you've got a nice clean section and a nice guide to follow. Okay, once you've done that side, repeat the process on the other side. Okay, so just unclick this section. And first of all, don't forget we need to put our horizontal line in, which goes from approximately the recession area until you join up with your radial line at the back of the head here. It's important that this is straight. It's also important that we match it up to the other side. So like I said, you could have done this section all at once. You could have sectioned off both sides at the same time if you really wanted to. But what the most important thing now is that we get this at the same height as we did this on the other side. And this is giving us a rectangular horseshoe section on top of the head. So what I'll do real quick is pop a clip in here and just take some time to look in the mirror, maybe use your hands to measure and just check that these are the same height. Okay, so I've got mine sectioned off now. I'm happy that it's balanced. I've just created this one bun on top of the head, which has formed my rectangular horseshoe now here. So I'm going to repeat that process we just did on the other side. Vertical sections, bringing everything up at that same angle, and making sure we get a nice horizontal finger position. So each time you finish a section of your second side, it's worth just grabbing the corresponding piece from the other side and just checking the balance as you go, making sure everything's nice and even, so you don't get any nasty surprises. Remember, as we're working, very important to maintain that same angle of elevation and that horizontal finger position. Okay, so when you're finished, both sides, you've checked it, you measured it, you're happy, it's time to move on to our rectangular horseshoe. Okay, I've just turned my head round quickly just so I can show you my rectangular horseshoe I'm left with, which you can hopefully see going through here, and into my corner of it here, and then my second part over the side here. So that's what you should be left with now, is a rectangular horseshoe. And now we're going to move on to the inversion part. So we've done the transient part of the haircut through the back and sides, and the top is where the inversion comes in. So let's get stuck into that now. Okay, so what we're going to do is unclip this top piece now, and we're going to work with a vertical section straight down the middle, approximately, probably 2 centimeters or so wide, I think 2 deep. And this is where our guideline for the top is going to come in. we're going to borrow a small piece of hair from the back, from the transient part of this haircut, which is going to create the blend between the two areas. So a little profile section straight down the centre of the head here. Then what we're going to look for is one of our pieces from the back here. So if we look at this area there, that's the piece of hair we're going to borrow into the front. So depending on what you want to achieve, there's a couple of ways you could go here. Now I'm going to use my transient piece from the back here and cut a line that gains in length to the front, and then I'm going to be putting my hair into the middle and back. You could alternatively, perhaps if I cut this longer, we could cut a line that gets shorter into the front. You could ignore it altogether and do a different shape over the top that was disconnected. That's going to be down to you, but I'm going to show you what I generally do with this haircut. So we're going to pick up this short piece from the back here initially, and I'm going to over direct my sections backwards here, looking at my short piece of hair, which hopefully you can see just here, and hopefully you can see over there. We're going to cut a line that gains in length to the front. Okay, so that's the guideline in. Now what we need to do is halve that, split it straight down the middle, and then like I say, we're going to direct everything into the middle. If you watch my forward inversion haircut, this is very similar to that, except instead of bringing the hair forwards, bring it backwards into the middle. Okay, so let's split that guide down the centre. Okay, so once that guide is split down the centre, what we're going to do is take sections that are parallel to that guide, so straight down the middle again. So I've got my parting here, I'm going to take a section to the side of that, to the side of that, to the side of that, just straight back here. And what I'm going to do is bring those into the centre, follow the guideline I've just cut. Quite important that I stand on the opposite side to the side I'm cutting. Bring this hair inwards, looking for that guideline. If you have a mirror in front of you, use that to check that you're not bringing the hair past the middle or before the middle. It needs to come as close to that centre as you can possibly get it. Look for that guide, find the same angle that you cut in, and cut your line in. Okay, once you're happy with that, take the next section. Again, just slightly beneath the one we've done before. Now the difference with this as well to what we were doing previously, we keep the original guide. The first guide is always in our hand. We're not halving one and taking one. If you look, that centre piece from the middle is always in my hand. That ensures I can get this hair in the centre and it stops me from over-directing it too far. So by keeping that initial guide in there can be a great help. You may find this feels like a lot of hair to hold now. If that is the case, you can subdivide it front and back to make it a bit easier to deal with. So bringing it back again, into that guide. And then carrying that on forwards towards the front. Next section. So we're essentially going to carry this process on until we run out of hair, which will be roughly when we get to the inversion part, the transient part of the haircut underneath. There we go, one side of the top done. We're going to repeat that process on the other side. Okay, so first section. Bringing it back into that same central position, following the guideline, and don't forget we've stood on the opposite side of the hair that we're cutting. Next section. Okay, so that's the last section completed. I'm going to blow dry this all off now, and then we'll come back, take a look at the shape, and do any refinements. Thanks. Okay, so there you have it, the finished result now. As you can see, what we've achieved here is quite a heavy layered effect, retaining the length. There's a drop to the front, and the layers are gaining in length from the reverse inversion part of this haircut that we've done. I'm going to do a bit of a 360 in a minute, so you can see all the different sides and what to think of it. But yeah, that's it. Jet Hairdressing Academy, Transient Inversion. Thanks.